Welcome to another episode of Halftime Adjustments. Your host, Eddie Arnell, my man G Witt. What's happening, G?
Tighten up, baby. Tighten up.
Tighten up. J. Lou's going to be late getting on with it tonight, man. But back here for the third episode of our schedule review, the third quarter. G Witt, man, a lot of things going on this past week with OTAs, veterans showing up. What have you been hearing so far about the chemistry of this football team so far with Tannehill and some of his, I'm going to say, new weapons?
Well, most of what I've been hearing, man, is that Tannehill is they're really working hard to try to establish that connection. Austin Hooper is definitely putting in the work to try to be a dependable target for him, to be open for him, to be the one, at least the bailout guy.
Right.
He finally got to work a little bit with Treylon Burks, and when they were inside the bubble, of course, everybody's going a little nuts about the highlight catch that he made. And I'm like, that's all good and everything. But from what I've seen, man, it seems like it's going along pretty good. He's working with Malik Willis, definitely helping him with his footwork, understanding what he needs to do as far as the pro game is concerned. You saw some of that. So that's really what you see from Tannehill. He's being the leader, being a good teammate, as he stated when he had his press conference this past week, talking about how everything got blown out of proportions from the last one. So he made sure, I will say this, Tannehill, he's a smart cookie, man, because one of the things he did, somebody asked him, why didn't you get on Twitter or whatever and try to respond to everything? He said it wouldn't have done any good. He said that just would have caused more arguments. So basically what he did was when he had his press conference, he walked in, he took command right from the get-go. And that's what you really want to see out of your leader.
That's right.
He took command out of the get-go, didn't give the reporters a chance to ask any questions about it. He gave an open statement, and matter of fact, he would have kept talking if one reporter hadn't interrupted him, and he made a joke about it, and they moved on.
Right. Rodney's already out there, man. He says the media trying to put the rumor out there about the Titans and Will Fuller. Yeah, Rodney, they might have been watching the show. We talked about it about 3 weeks ago, I believe.
Yep.
But yeah, so the rumors out there, man, and we talked about, possibly if we get a healthy Will Fuller, he would be worth kicking the tires on, as J. Lou likes to say, for a year, a small deal, and bring him in. And if he can get you, some respectable yards and present that deep threat that this offense sorely needs, then, you have that opportunity to bring him in. And so, like you said, man, Tannehill, you like to see the leadership that he's taken so far coming into this season, especially how things ended last year. And then, if we know what he said about the mentor thing, but he's going to take the young guy under his wing and kind of show him, what it's like to be a quarterback in the league. This kid's coming in, his playing this level of football is just totally different, right? It's just totally different what he's ever seen before. Plus, he didn't play at a big school either, and so that might be a knock on. I'm not saying it is, but some people might see it that way. But anyway, so thank you guys for joining us. Come on in, get your comments and questions in. G Witt. You know what time it is for tonight, man. Will dubbed it last week. It's the Green Mile portion of the schedule. I like how he gave us that, man. It's if you look at it, it's playoff teams galore, the Super Bowl runner-up, the AFC Championship game runner-up, and future Hall of Famer and A-Rod, possibly future Hall of Famer and Russell Wilson. So let's get into it, G Witt. And let's see what's happening, man, because week 9 on the road at Kansas City, Sunday Night Football, 12-5 Chiefs, like I said, lost to the Bengals in the AFC Championship game. Gone is Tyreek Hill. They traded away DeMarcus Robinson, Brian Pringle, and the Honey Badger, Tyrann Mathieu. Now what they've done, G, though, it's pretty interesting. They brought in some big receivers, Juju Smith-Schuster, Marquez Valdes-Scantling. So, G, well, let's talk about this offense and what we might see, especially with the addition of Ronald Jones. It sounds like the Chiefs want to get a better run game going for Pat Mahomes, protect him from taking out those shots.
Well, they got to do something, man, because last season really exposed their offense. Really, what people learned real quick was that, as much of a threat as Tyreek Hill was, the main threat you had to take away from Patrick Mahomes was Travis Kelce.
Right.
Travis Kelce was the main guy. That's the reason why Mahomes was struggling, because him and Kelce are always on the same page.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when I was saying everybody was talking about getting rid of Tyreek Hill is a big deal. It's really not, because a lot of the catches he made from Patrick Mahomes were off-schedule throws. and he, don't get me wrong, he was good at it. I'm not knocking him. I'm not knocking him at all. But you do know that Travis Kelce is the main guy. So what they did was they got some better route runners, really, and Juju Smith-Schuster. And the fact that, he's always going to run a good route. He's always going to be in the spot. He's definitely a number two. They got McCole Hardeman on the other side. So we're going to see how that works. He's a speedster.
Right.
So it's going to be interesting to watch what they do. But you're right about one thing. They did try to shore up their running game to get better. Clyde Edwards-Helaire has struggled with injuries over the past couple of seasons. So getting Ronald Jones coming out of, I think, Tampa Bay, correct?
Tampa Bay. Right.
And he's a strong runner, powerful runner. And he's the guy that's going to give Clyde Edwards-Helaire a break. But you also have a guy who can function as a starter if Helaire gets hurt again. That's the thing about it. He's basically an insurance policy. So overall, offensively, I don't see much change in it. They got Sky Moore, another speedster. Again, I just can't get over the fact of how Andy Reid continues to get all these super fast receivers, man. But he does, and they make good use out of them. And, they didn't change much on the offense. They still got the same OC. They still got, Andy Reid there. So it's always going to be good for them. So the offense is going to be good. It's going to be a challenge for the defense, man. It's going to be a challenge.
It is.
Because, with way they run that offense, our defense really is going to be maintain their discipline. But the secondary is going to cover. And here's the question we got on our defense, and this is where it really shows up. Last year, one of the biggest things that helped out on our defense was having Dane Cruikshank covering tight ends.
Right.
And you saw he shut down two of the best.
Theo Jackson.
Yeah. You don't have that this year. So
right.
We don't know. And, you mentioned Theo Jackson, but he's a rookie.
I know it.
And, that's going to be hard. That's hard to replace right there, man.
It is.
That's hard to replace.
You're right.
So it's going to be interesting to see how we match up against them on the defensive side of the ball. Their defense is going to be solid. I just think they also got exposed last year. And I don't think they've really done enough to really shore up that defense.
Right. And don't be surprised. And again, here's a little nugget you hear first on halftime adjustments, that you don't see Molden playing that role of shut down tight end. I'm just saying, look out for that. But anyway, let's get some comments in, and then I'll give my shots out on the offensive side of the ball for KC. And so Jabbar, good man, you joined us. Austin Hooper, he said what he's seen so far is a significant upgrade in blocking and catch from last year. Definitely improves the 12 personnel package. Can't agree with you more. We knew Austin Hooper could block. We just, his hands are better. He's a good athlete, and so definitely an upgrade over first to last year and Swain. So hopefully, he'll live up to his billing. And so, and then he also said a little schedule nugget: Chiefs have a tough battle against the 49ers in San Francisco on Sunday before they play us. So again, tough battle for KC. They got to go to the West Coast. You know how hard that is to get over that, G. Whit, man, to play on the West Coast and to overcome that time lapse. But like you said, did they do enough on the defensive side of the ball? It's going to be interesting. They pick up Justin Reed to replace Matthew as safety. Their first draft pick is a defensive back out of Washington University, Trent McDuffie.
Yeah,
he was 8th ranked by some experts. They lost Travaris Ward in free agency, and so and they come back in the first round and get George Karlaftis from defensive end out of Purdue. And so added some depth up front. You think he might be a day one starter, like you mentioned, Sky Moore, again, another fast receiver. He led all major colleges with catches on slant routes, 23 for 433 yards. So you already know what they're going to do with him. You already know what the plan is for Andy Reid and company. And then they added some defensive players as well. And so the offense that averaged 396 yards last year, G. Whit, it's interesting that you see those numbers, and they only averaged 281 yards passing. And Mahomes threw for almost 5,000 yards, but you would think the average would be more than that. But they were a little bit more balanced last year, 16th rushing with 115 yards and 28.2 points scored per game. 28 sacks, though, Mahomes, like you said. Did they do enough to fix the right side of the offensive line? Then the defense, of course, 27th overall. And so I think, you look at that defense, how they played against Buffalo, and they barely got out of that game. But, Joe Burrow took advantage of that secondary, and you saw what the weakness is in that team. Although they're pretty solid up front with Chris Jones and
Frank Clark.
And Frank Clark, thank you. Did they do enough? And I think we have an opportunity here to be able to run the football on this football team because, based upon what they had last year, giving up on 100 yards rushing, there might be an advantage for us in that game.
Well, that much is true, man, because one of the things you'll notice about them is that their secondary got exposed really when they played Tampa Bay in the Super Bowl, and it just went downhill from there. So I don't know, like you said, I don't know if they've done enough. They got Justin Reed, who played at Houston and everything, and they got Juan Thornhill, but I still don't know if they've done enough to really rectify what they do on defense. Chris Jones and Frank Clark are going to be who they're going to be, but people were still able to run the ball on them, and I think that's something that we'll be able to do as well against them. Again, with this offense, Patrick Mahomes got most of his yardage passing when you stop and think about it during the second half of the season, because on the first half, he really struggled.
Right.
That was part of the problem they were running into. He was having a hard time with all the sacks and with the interceptions and things of that nature. I mean, really, when you get down to it, you go back and look at the game they played against us last year. Mahomes didn't do anything. He had a horrible game. So, everything is going to be about building back on that. I just don't know really if they've done enough overall, like you said, with the offensive line especially, to prevent those sacks from happening again, because they really did not address the offensive line in the draft. So they obviously think they got what they need, but you give up that many sacks on Patrick Mahomes, and he was running for his life in quite a few games, man. I just don't know.
Like you mentioned. Go ahead.
It's Kansas City, man.
It's Kansas City. You already know.
And it's in Kansas City. So the one thing you don't want to do, you don't want to really get into a shootout with them.
That's right.
That's the one thing you don't want to do. You want to get the game slowed down and everything. So it'd be interesting to see how Shane Bowen and Mike Vrabel and our boy, the Blitzer,
Schwartz.
Yeah. What kind of game plan they come up with on the defensive side of the ball to slow that offense down?
Yeah, and it's gonna be interesting because they're gonna think about what happened to them. They came for last year, got embarrassed up here in Tennessee. Yeah. So revenge game, if you will, especially at that point of the year. It might be a tiebreaker scenario coming up, being that late in the year, week 9. So those games get down the stretch like that come in crucial when it comes to playoff seeding when the playoffs come around. And so very interesting matchup. We'll see how the offense is going to look for Kansas City with these new, bigger receivers. But you already know they're going to have gadgets and tight plays to get people open. And so week 10, G-Wit, man, you come back home and you got Russell Wilson and the new look Broncos, right? And so, of course, they traded for Russell Wilson. They picked up Randy Gregory, another key free agent, DJ Jones, the defensive tackle out of the 49ers, K'Wan Williams, defensive back to play slot and nickel, and they re-signed Kareem Jackson. And Denver has a new head coach, Nathaniel Hackett, known for his offense and known to be one of the catalysts that propelled the Jaguars to the playoffs when they had Blake Bortles, and they should have beat the Patriots in the playoffs. And so G-Wit, man, new additions to the Broncos. The Broncos, quiet as kept, had one of the best defenses in the league last year. And if you look at their defensive staff, Don Capers, he's a senior assistant. Don Capers is a 3-4 heavy guy. He loves to blitz, and he's going to press you the whole game. Yeah. And so, man, another tough game. The second mile of the Green Mile.
Man, I tell you, this one is the one for me. I think I got circled because it could go either way.
Right.
Normally with Denver, you would think before Russell Wilson that it didn't matter who they had at quarterback, they were going to struggle. You were going to win based on the fact that offense is just going to be terrible. Mm-hmm. But with Russell Wilson and with some of the players that they have, with Cortland Sutton, it's going to be interesting to see how that goes out. They got a problem and they lost Jerry Jeudy,
right,
due to some off-field situations and everything. So you don't know how that's going to go. And the other thing that's really been a struggle for Denver is their running game. Their running game has never been that strong. I mean, they've tried different, in addition to trying different quarterbacks, they've tried different running backs as well. And they still got Melvin Gordon on the team. So it's going to be interesting to see how that offense is going to look, what they're going to do. Again, against our defense, I'm anticipating a lot of quick passes. And I know one of the things our defense is going to try to do is make sure they keep Russell Wilson in the pocket. Mm-hmm. Because, again, like Patrick Mahomes, his strength is when he gets outside of the pocket, starts improvising, making those off-schedule throws. And the arm is going to be there. And he's going to look good. So that's going to be interesting on that side. But on the defensive side of the ball, you hit the nail on the head, man. This is really a great defensive team. Matter of fact, really the only issue they've really had defensively is the fact that they can't stay healthy.
I was going to say injuries. That's right.
Yeah, that's been their biggest issue, man. They can't stay healthy. So I don't know if it's part of it has to do with the fact that they just had such a bad offense that they defense is on the field too much.
Could be.
But I know they always seem to have injuries before the season starts.
Mm-hmm.
Bradley Chubb gets hurt before the season starts. When they had Von Miller, he always got hurt before the season starts. Mm-hmm. So I'm not sure what causes it or whatever happens, but they're going to be strong defensively, I think. Pat Surtain the second on one corner, man. You got to really look to see how he's going to improve because he was good last year.
Right.
So that's going to be interesting to see how he goes. And they got Kareem Jackson as one of the strong safeties and everything. Of course, we're familiar with him. Mm-hmm. So it's going to be interesting to see how this defense is going to look. They were 3rd overall last year, 8th against the pass, 15th against the run. So we know we'll be able to run the ball on them a little bit, but it's going to be interesting to watch how the offense is going to match up against them. And again, by that time, the offense should be fairly much in sync. You're talking about game number 10 in the season. Right. They should have it pretty well settled down, and hopefully Todd Downing is doing a better job calling plays than what he did last year.
Yeah, you mentioned this defense, man, only giving up 18.9 points a game last season. So you already know it's going to be crucial for this offense, for the Titans offense, to get off and get going early, play action. That's one thing they're not going to let us do is run that football. And so we got to get the play action going early. So, just a notable draft pick, 2nd round, Nick Bonito from Oklahoma, another guy that can rush off the edge. And Montreal Washington in the 5th round, a receiver out of Sanford, a speedster, another speedster. So you add that with KJ Hamler, who they drafted a couple years ago and was kind of hurt last year, didn't really play that much. And you say if Jerry Jeudy comes back along with Tim Patrick, they got a formidable wide receiver room right there that could cause some problems. Like you said, week 10, and they should have their chemistry with Russell Wilson at this point. Again, you got to question the run game, Javonte Williams, Melvin Gordon in the backfield. And so it's going to be interesting, man. It's going to be a tough football game. Like you mentioned, you got Bradley Chubb on one side, then you got Randy Gregory on the other. You saw Randy Gregory did the Cowboys last season. He caused a lot of havoc in the backfield. So very, very interesting 3-4 defense. So those guys are going to be coming off the edge. If Randy Gregory has any weaknesses, it's going to be his pass coverage. And so you probably won't see him doing that much, dropping into the secondary. But again, it's going to be a very tough football game, man. Second one of against the AFC West with those quarterbacks in that division, man. You got another one coming up later on against the Chargers. You got another gunslinger. And so, man, it's going to be tough.
Wild West, man.
It's going to be tough. At this point, you've already played the Colts twice. You played the Texans, and man, it's just brutal. And the Bills and the Raiders, and so. You can't breathe. No time to breathe on this schedule this year.
I know. We as Titans fans, man, it's going to be tough. It's going to be rough on us this year, man. Like you said, this is the 2nd mile of the Green Mile, man, and it's going to be rough on us again. So, we just got to hope that the team is coming together, one, that we can stay healthy, but 2, that we can come together and just play solid football on both sides of the ball. In all honesty, I think we're due. For both the offense and the defense to be playing at the top level in the same season. So that's my thought process. So it's going to be interesting. The one thing about it, like I said, we got a good defense. We know that. Hopefully they can come and do what they need to do. I don't anticipate, again, Denver being able to run on our defense, but passing the ball, that was our weakness last year. So we got to see how that's going to improve. And right now, the only consistency we have in the secondary is the fact that you have Bayard, Hooker, and you got Fulton on one side. But that second side is going to be interesting. And, we got Elijah Molden, who is already probably penciled in as the slot guy covering that. But you don't know if he's going to cover tight ends. There's just a lot to be concerned with, man.
Right. And let me go back and get some more of these questions. So, Jabbar, again, he says a scheduled nugget, the Broncos will be on the bye week as they prepare for us. So that's going to be a tough one. Travis White, man, what's going on, man? How you doing tonight? Thank you for joining us. Rodney Gaddis says once again he hopes this is not a heart attack season every game. So I think Rodney by now we expect that out of the Titans.
Yeah, go ahead and take your medicine now and get prepared for it.
Will says, why does the league love the Colts so much? They picked them to win the division every. I don't know, man. It's just disrespectful, my opinion.
Well, they won the division for so many years for so long, man. They keep giving them the benefit of the doubt. So.
That's right. And so Taylor wants to know how strong the offensive line is for Denver. So last year, if you think about it, Taylor, Teddy Bridgewater was sacked 31 times and Drew Lock was 9. Teddy Bridgewater, he couldn't stay healthy very much. He played a lot of games. He was banged up. And so there's opportunity there for our defense to get pressure on the quarterback. But, like G. Witt said, Russell Wilson, he's at his best when he's scrambling out of the pocket, throwing on the run and making those off-schedule plays. And so it's going to be tough, man, if we can contain them, keep in the pocket. We did a fairly good job against them last year, but the offensive line for Seattle was trash. I'm just going to say it like that. Yeah. So I don't know if it's better than what the Broncos have coming in this season, but I think, you'll see a better team overall offensively for the Broncos as we go into that game. So, man, 2 hurdles down of the – my answer, paper machete. So – Two hurdles down of the Green Mile, G. Witt, and Week 11, another primetime game Thursday night at the Packers on the Frozen Tundra. Last time we was on the Frozen Tundra, we got embarrassed.
We don't even want to talk about it.
So hopefully this time, coming off of another big game against the Broncos, then you got a short week when you go to Green Bay, man. It's going to be tough. You got an offense, still has Aaron Rodgers, even though they traded Devontae Adams. That was 10th overall last season, 365 yards, 8th passing, 18th rushing with 118, and 10th scoring. Now, some of the key additions they added, G. Witt, free agents, to Sammy Watkins. We all know Sammy Watkins. Sammy Watkins would have been probably one of the better receivers if he could stay healthy, and maybe he's found his groove here with Aaron Rodgers. Devondre Campbell, linebacker, led the Packers last year in tackles, 146. Rasul Douglas, a DB that really helped solidify that secondary on the opposite side of Jair Alexander. Robert Tonyan, of course, he was one of Rodgers' favorite options outside of Adams. And then they signed Jerry Reed, defensive tackle from the play with the Seattle Seahawks. And so, G. Witt, man, you look at the draft for Green Bay. They really went a lot of defense. They picked up a couple receivers. They're trying to replace Devontae Adams, which is going to be harder than saying it, right?
Yeah,
Christian Watson was one of the ones that I saw people wanted the Titans to pick up. Big frame guy, 4.47, really straight line guy. His knock was his route running ability. But the Green Bay Packers, man, look at their draft and their free agents. They still got Aaron Rodgers, though, right?
They still got Aaron Rodgers, and that's always going to be the key. Green Bay is a different breed altogether, man, because of Aaron Rodgers. They get away with a lot on offense, man. That's been really the key. I mean, he like Tom Brady, he makes the offense go, and that's the thing you like about him. I mean, if the receivers do their job, he's always tough to beat passing the ball because he's got strong wrists and he gets the ball out quick, throws with anticipation, and makes all the throws and can make the off-schedule throws as well, although he doesn't run as much as he did when he was younger.
Right.
But losing his number one receiver is going to hurt him. Granted, by that time, he should be okay by the time we play him in Week 11, but he lost Devontae Adams, man. That was his old reliable. Right. But, and one thing about Sammy Watkins, you mentioned about him staying hurt. The other problem with Sammy Watkins, he has a lot of drops.
Right.
So it's going to be interesting to see how that's going to work. They still got Randall Cobb, the old wily veteran that they need. I didn't realize this until I was looking at the chart, the depth chart. I didn't realize they had Mercedes Lewis still on the squad. So I was surprised to see that. So, they got some veterans that's going to help Aaron Rodgers out. Still got Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon for their running game, which is something we couldn't stop the last time we played them. I mean, we couldn't stop the run at all. Now, granted, totally different defense this year. I mean, when you carry over from last year, but that was another big problem we had. We just could not stop the run. I mean, they just, for lack of a better phrase, they just whooped us up and down the field all day. We had a couple of good plays, but that was about it. Defensively, there's a reason why they concentrate on defense in the draft, man. That's been their Achilles heel for the past, I don't know, since they won the Super Bowl. Their Achilles heel is the fact that their defense could not stop the run, and they struggled towards the end of the game stopping passes.
What comes to mind, G. Witt, you already know because we watched it, and I don't even think that he's not on the team anymore. But when they gave up that touchdown right before the half against Tampa Bay, the year that Tampa Bay won the Super Bowl a couple years ago, and they turn around and do it again this year, just almost got them beat again. And so, like you said, the secondary outside of Jair Alexander and Eric Stokes, who they drafted last year out of Georgia, Rasheed Douglas, those guys have got to solidify that secondary. But, they picked up Quay Walker, which is another big outside linebacker out of Georgia. And they also drafted the defensive tackle out of Georgia. His name is slipping my mind right now. But again, Devontae Wyatt, that's his name.
Yeah.
And so just kind of solidifying that defense some and trying to find a replacement, which, you can't find a replacement Devontae Adams. And you got some young guys, some big guys with a lot of speed. It's just going to be interesting to see, man, how Aaron Rodgers works. Tunyon will be back. He'll be healthy. He likes throwing the ball to him a lot. But you got to see what's going to happen to this football team, man, because, the offense has changed. He doesn't have that blanket, if you will, that security blanket anymore. And I just don't think Sammy Watkins is going to be the one that's going to make the crucial throw. You might see a little bit more Randall Cobb, like you mentioned, showing up for him.
Yeah, because the bottom line is, man, and let's be real about it, man. The only receiver that Green Bay had for the past few years that Aaron Rodgers really liked was Devontae Adams. He pushed last year for them to go out and bring Randall Cobb back because he knew he could depend on him. But unfortunately, Randall Cobb couldn't stay healthy, and you found out another thing that he's a lot slower than what he used to be. So he's not as much of a threat as he used to be. Don't get me wrong, still wildly veteran, still can get the job done. But he's a smaller receiver, and one of the main things that made him so good was that he had good speed and he was on all everything. He could run after the catch. They could line him up in multiple positions. But now, with the game catching up to him and everything, he's just not as fast as he used to be, not as quick as he used to be. So he's going to be a threat because, again, he's a wily veteran. But that's going to take some oomph off the offense, I would say. Aaron Rodgers is going to be interesting to watch him this year, man. Aaron Rodgers is not the most likable guy.
You don't say.
Yeah, he's not the most likable guy when it comes to playing. I understand that. I mean, the man wants to win. I mean, he's still burning every year from the draft because he'd always replay the fact that he was sitting in the green room the whole day before anybody picked him. So he's not the most likable guy. He complained a couple of years ago about receivers not really working hard, not doing the job. They would trash and things of that nature. And I don't know if he was trying to motivate him or what, but it's going to be interesting to watch. Green Bay is going to be one of those case studies this year, man, because you just don't know what's going to happen with them. All we know for sure is that they don't want Aaron Rodgers to get hurt because they've already figured out that Jordan Love is not the answer.
Right. Yeah, and I agree with you, Travis. Why he says this stretch of games is the real gauntlet. If we can make it out of this, we should be good. Will says the Green Mile portion of our schedule to define our season. Definitely, sir. Carlton Ross said maybe be 60 degrees on the frozen tundra for that primetime game. I hope so.
Well, you got to take Carlton with a grain of salt, man. That's a Bears fan talking. So he's had to listen to Aaron Rodgers talk smack to the crowd for the longest.
I own you. That's what he said.
Yeah, I feel his pain because we had to deal with the same thing with Andrew Luck and Peyton Manning. So welcome to our world.
Exactly. Jay Lou says, man, Green Bay plays another tough one before us, and that's against the Cowboys. So it's a home game, but it's another tough football game. A lot of history between those teams. And again, another good point by Jay Lou. He says it's going to be interesting to see how the Packers have adjusted by this time of the season. He figures to see more of the two-headed monster in the run game since you don't have Get Open Devontae anymore. Yeah. And so, it's just going to be very interesting. It's going to be a different look for Aaron Rodgers again. Quiet is kept, though. That offensive line has got to be healthy. David Bakhtiari is supposed to be, he'll be back at right tackle. He had some injuries last season. Yeah. Aaron Rodgers was sacked 30 times. And so, again, there is opportunity to take advantage of our front six, if you will, to get pressure on Aaron Rodgers. Again, he's another one, G, with if he gets out of the pocket, he makes those off-schedule throws. Yeah. Has the arm to drop a dime 50 yards down the field. Yep. And future Hall of Famer. What else can you say?
You said it all.
right. Another primetime game. Three out of the past 3 weeks. These 3 weeks here, you got two primetime games on Sunday night against Kansas City, and then this short week to Thursday night go to Green Bay, and then the game that's scheduled on the schedule. The game on the schedule that's circled for a lot of Titans fans, a lot of the Titans players, the Cincinnati Bengals at home 12 noon kickoff, Joe Burrow and the Bengals. You can't say the Bengals anymore, man.
No, you can't.
They proved last season they were the real deal.
Yeah.
10-7 last season, lost to the Rams in the Super Bowl. And I'm going to say they probably had one of the best off seasons in the NFL because they addressed an issue that they had, G-Wit, and that's with giving up sacks. 51 last year for Joe Burrow. And they went out and got La'el Collins, right tackle from Dallas, Alex Kappa at guard, Ted Karayas at center and guard. Picked up Hunter Hurst because they lost C.J. Uzomah to the Jets.
Yeah.
B.J. Hill, they solidified that interior defensive line, and Michael Thomas at safety. So, saying that, G-Wit, giving up 51 sacks, they protecting that asset this year.
Well, yeah, and let's be real about it too. One of the things that, I will say this, as far as Joe Burrow was concerned, man, one of the things that really impressed me about him, even in the game that we played against him, is that no mistakes. I mean, the man does not turn the ball over. And as a football player, you got to love that. So you got to be able to, one, get to him, but two, you got to be able to stop that high-powered offense, man. Jamar Chase is going to be back, and what you found out last year about him, not only is he fast, not only does he catch the ball well, but he's strong as heck. He's hard to tackle. So, if you're not on him when he catches the ball, chances are you're not going to get him. And every team that played against the Bengals found that out. I mean, we found that out. We were Amani Hooker made the play of the game as far as I was concerned when he got that catch against Fulton and got away from him. He made the play of the game to stop him from scoring a touchdown. If he hadn't have done that, I don't think the game would have been as close as it was. But the thing about it is we even though we lost the game, even though we had 11 sacks, the one thing we found about it, and I think we could take solace in with this game coming up, it's going to be, week 12? I think it is, week 11, week 12?
12.
The one thing about it, our defense should be really clicking.
Right.
And if that's the case, then, and again, we're relatively healthy, that should be a good game for us because remember, the only reason we lost, as we well know, is because of turnovers. So if we're eliminating turnovers and playing good ball, and we didn't even have a Derrick Henry that played healthy in that game.
Right. If
he's healthy, then it's a whole different offense. For again, the only sad thing about it, we still got Todd Downing as OC. So I'm just not going to let up on that one until I see a difference. But but that offense, man, they're going to be ready. I mean, that was a high-powered offense last year. I was impressed. That's the game I would say more than anything else impressed me about our defense, because you held a high-powered offense to just 19 points, and I mean it was a hard 19 points. They didn't just run up and down the field on us.
No, it was a team that was averaging 27 points a game, and Burrow had over 4,600 yards passing, 70% completion rate, which is outstanding. 34 touchdowns, 14 picks, and 51 sacks, as I mentioned. Joe Nixon had over 1,200 yards rushing. And then you almost had three receivers with 1,000 yards. Chase with 1,455, Higgins with 1,091, and then Boyd with 828. So you're right. It's going to be a tough game. The Bengals have the Steelers the Sunday night before that. So it's going to be a tough game for them. And we'll be coming in with 10 days rest, as Jay Luke points out. And so, one thing you got to remember also, G, like you said, they held them held them down. And one other thing that we got to do better this time around is tackle better. You mentioned Monty Hooker making a play of the game after a hitch route by Chase. He almost takes it to the house, and Monty Hooker has a great play to make the stop. And so, but this defense side of the ball, the Bengals, is no slouch either. As far as the secondary is the weakness, but the front seven is tough. You got Henderson, coming back with 14 sacks. Hubbard has 7.5. They were 12th in sacks with 42. We were 10. And so they can get after the pass rush. after the quarterback as well. Got a nice front four, bringing sacks. Ogunjobi had 7. B.J. Hill had 5.5. And so, man, just looking at the draft, they drafted a safety out of Michigan, Daxton Hill, who can play corner and safety. And they added another defensive back, Cam Taylor-Britt, and then got an offensive lineman as well. So, very interesting. I think free agency, they made their hay though, solidifying the offensive line. Oh, yeah. They're gonna protect the franchise. But now that people have them on film, it's gonna be a little different. I think it's gonna be a little different. Teams are gonna play them different. interesting fact that we found out last year is that Joe Burrow struggles more when they don't blitz him, which is kind of ironic, that you got a quarterback that has such a high completion percentage that struggles against a team that's making him read a zone and not blitz him.
Well, yeah, but that's going to happen. I mean, Joe Burrow's going to have his struggles this year simply because team defense, like you said, they got a lot of film on him. He played a full season. They're going to see what he's about. They're going to throw different schemes at him to try to confuse him as much as they possibly can. Like you said, he struggled against zone coverage and everything. And the good thing about us was the fact that it was just our front four. We didn't have to blitz him. It was mainly our front four getting to him. I mean, Jeffrey Simmons had 4 sacks in that game, if I'm not mistaken. So, there was a lot going on. But I'm telling you, man, it's going to be interesting. This is going to be a good game, I think. They still got DJ Reader, who's a run stopper.
Right.
Let's be honest, man, it's going to be a grudge match. Our defense wreaked havoc on that offensive line. I mean, absolutely.
Well, he's gone now, Quinn Spain.
I know he's gone, man. I know he's gone, but still, he wasn't the only one that got whooped. I mean, a lot of them got whooped. So, they're looking at that game that they play against us. They got to redeem themselves. And of course, Joe Burrow's looking at it, and he's like, if we play good, we're going to win. But I still say for us, if our offense is clicking by then, man, like I said, if our defense and offense are clicking and playing top 10 football on both sides of the ball, man, it's going to be rough. It's going to be rough for everybody playing against us, but we're going to have to wait and see. I just know they're going to come after Jeffrey Simmons, man, because he just flat out abused them in that game. I mean, flat out abused them. If we had won, that's all anybody would have been talking about. And they talked about it enough, even though we lost.
I know. I agree with you, Taylor. He said the Bengals learned how to win last year. They know what it takes. They'll be a tough team to play regardless of film on them. Burrow is the key. Yeah, that's why they had to solidify the offensive line. I'm going to give a shout out, man, to Big 99 out of Miami, Ohio. Big Ant Collier joining us tonight, man. What's happening, Ant? Look for those 9s up there in Miami, Ohio this year coming up. And so thank y'all for all the comments and the questions. The Green Mile, G-Wick. The Green Mile, man. If we can come out of this, man. If we come out of this 2-2, I think we'll be in great shape.
Man, I'm telling you, man, it's going to be rough. I mean, you start looking at that stretch of games, man. It's just bizarre. Obviously the NFL schedulers, they're going to make us earn everything we got, man.
Right.
They're just going to make us earn everything we got. They ain't cutting us no slack. They ain't cutting us no corners. They're saying, like, if you're going to get there, you're going to earn it. It happens every year. Don't get me wrong, but look at the level of play, the quarterbacks we got to play against in a 4-game stretch.
Right, and it's like we talked about last week. You like that because that means your team is winning.
Yeah,
and the better seasons you have, the harder schedule is going to be. You got you got what, #1 seeds galore on the schedule this year.
Oh yeah, it's all division winners, man. Right. It's all division winners.
Even in the preseason, you got Baltimore, Tampa Bay, Arizona. So I know it's just preseason, but man,
it's all division winners, man. But like you said, if we come out of that Green Mile, man, I mean, it's going to be rough. It's going to be tough sledding because, again, everybody's improving. You're going against really 2 good defenses, for sure, in Denver and Cincinnati, no doubt. And you're going against 3 veteran offenses that you already know about, KC, Green Bay, and Cincinnati. Denver's the only wild card in that group. You just don't know how they're going to look with Russell Wilson. And the fact that you don't know if they're going to have a running game because they didn't have one last year, so you don't know what they're going to have this year. But it's going to be interesting to see how that Green Mile plays out in the month of November, man. It's a tough month once again.
Right.
Tough month. Last year it was October. This year is November, man.
Right. And then you follow that up with a trip to Philly, which we'll talk about next week. And you get to see AJ Brown once again on the opposite side of the field.
And the sad thing about it, man, our big name free agents that we let go last year and we played against, we lost in all those games, man.
I know. That's the sad part. Oh man, that's the sad part about it. But anyway, thank y'all for joining us for an episode of Halftime Adjustment, man. Hey there, out there, G-Wit. The schedule review Part three, third quarter. Thank you, sir. I couldn't get that out. Third quarter of the Green Mile.
Yeah,
Green Mile. We had the gauntlet last year, got the Green Mile this season. And we'll see what happens, man. Tough schedule, but you like it. 12-5 buys you playoff teams every week. Every week. So
every week, man. Every week. I mean, if I would say this for an old school NFL fan like me, I mean, you gotta love it because you're gonna see all the stars, man. You're gonna see all the top-notch players, man. It's gonna be tough, but it's gonna be fun to watch from a football perspective. But my man who asked about heart attack games, man, we got them all.
Rodney Gaddis.
Yeah, we got them all, man. Just take your medicine, get ready for it, man. Just breathe, because that's what I'm going to be doing with every game, taking deep breaths for the game halftime.
Man, I would tell you.
It's seriously. I mean, this is what winning gets you.
That's right.
This is what winning gets you. You win a division 2 years in a row. You don't get a slouch schedule.
No,
regardless of what the pundits say.
Don't be disappointed.
You don't get a slouch schedule.
That's right. That's right. Big shout out to Rob Vic too, man. I see you on that. Appreciate you joining us tonight, man.
Hey, one thing, Eddie. Just for all of us Titans fans, man, you had to be happy seeing videos of the King running the hill and seeing the slim 300 Jeffrey Simmons deadlifting like 615 pounds, man, with no problem.
So I would say this, man. I would say this. The King's gonna be out to prove something this year. Because he's hearing folks saying he's going downhill. He's had an injury. How is he gonna come back? He didn't look good in the play. So if anybody got a bad taste in their mouth, it's the King. For that his last game he played, he wasn't in tip-top shape. He wasn't that home run threat as we were used to seeing. And so he's got something to prove too. And just don't be surprised he come out of the gate just pounding that rock.
He very well could be. It's gonna be interesting to see. And like I said, seeing Jeffrey Simmons working on his moves and everything in those videos. And like I said, the man deadlifted, man, 600 pounds without straps now. I'm like, good grief.
Yeah, and then the D-line working out the guests, that's gonna be scary, like Jay Lou just said, man.
So it's gonna be interesting to see.
So again, we thank y'all for joining us for another episode of Halftime Adjustments. Eddie Arnell, G Witt, quarter 3 of the schedule. Join us next Sunday. We're gonna go over that quarter 4 schedule. We got the Cowboys, we got the Eagles, we got the Chargers, another gunslinger coming in LA, and Jacksonville and Houston again. We face 2 more division foes, man. So don't get any easier. Take a deep breath, relax. We'll be back next week.
Man, I forgot all about Dallas, man. I'm like, good
fourth
grief.
Quarter schedule. Got to play against Jerry's boys.
Go against Jerry's boys and Zeke and Dak and CD Lamb. I mean, it's gonna be rough, man.
It's gonna be rough, man. Again, thank y'all for joining us. Thank you for the love and support of the show. I'm your host, Ed Arnell. That's G Witt, man, and we are Halftime Adjustments, and we out of here.
Peace.